up and welcome, I'm the one and only West Coast King, and welcome back to Major League 90, where we are talking Major League Soccer. Today, we have one thing to talk about, one thing only, and it's the Seattle Sounders. And, oh my god, I don't even know where to start, really. It's been such a horrific and nightmare of a season. I honestly don't even know where to begin, but we got a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. Now, when we're talking about the Sounders, we're talking about a team that made 7 straight playoff appearances, 4 US Open Cup finals, and just 2 years ago, won the Supporter Shield for being the best team throughout the regular season. Today, they sit 1 point off the bottom in the Western Conference, and they're the worst offensive team in the league. So what exactly has gone wrong for this club? There's a lot. It's been a lot of things coming, and they've all seemed to come to a head this season. I would start last season, actually, where when the Gold Cup started, Clint Dempsey went away. He left the Sounders to go play for the U.S. At the same time, Obafemi Martins went down with an injury, and they played most of the summer throughout the course of the Gold Cup tournament without a striker. They had Lamar Nagel playing striker, and it didn't work. They almost went winless through 2 months, I believe, with their 2-star players out. And that was kind of the indication right there that something might not be right with this team. And to credit the Sounders, they tried to quick fix it for last season and try to build it up so they could still make a run with their core of Obafemi Martins and Clint Dempsey. And it seemed to work last year. They brought in the likes of Nelson Valdez, a striker they needed desperately. They needed that depth at the striker spot. He came in and did a very nice job last season. Andres Ivanschitz they brought in. He was hurt at the beginning, but when he came in, he actually was very, very effective and gave him a technical boost that I think they were missing on the field. But this season, those players don't fit in this team anymore. It was a band-aid for last year, and it nearly worked. They won their first playoff series against the LA Galaxy, a 1-game playoff series against the Galaxy, moved on to play Dallas, and they narrowly got knocked out by Dallas in that next round. So those players did work for the team last year with that setup. This year, it's much, much different. And it all started this season with the loss of Obafemi Martins. And if you didn't realize while he was in Seattle, you surely realize it now that Obafemi Martins was not only the best player on the team, the leading goal scorer, the man in Seattle, but he was also the most important. And with him gone, that is glaringly apparent now that he was the most important. He brought the fire, he brought the energy, he brought the electricity to CenturyLink Field. He led by example by going out there and just working his butt off for the team. That is sorely missing now on this team. You watch their last game against Sporting Kansas City. It doesn't look like there's any fight left in the team, and there doesn't look like there's any leadership. There's just nothing there. The team is completely dead. Now, the way that head coach Ziggy Schmid decided to try to fix the whole no Obafemi Martins problem was, instead of trying to find a like-for-like replacement, which in the MLS there is almost no one that could come in and do what Obafemi Martins was doing, maybe Sebastian Giovinco, maybe 1 or 2 others, maybe in this league that could do what Obafemi Martins did. Instead of trying to find that replacement, he decided to go with a formation change and kind of take the need for that player out of the team. And in theory, it was a good idea, and I thought it might actually work. Unfortunately, it did not. The problem was, going from a 4-4-2 to a 4-3-3 doesn't work if your team isn't built for it. And this team, this Sounders team, clearly is not built for it. You can't play a 4-3-3 formation with no wingers on the entire roster. There's not a single natural winger in the entire Sounders organization. A 4-3-3 is not going to work. No matter how good Ivanschitz is, and I do like him as a player, he's not a left winger. He lacks the athleticism to get up and down the wing with any kind of pace. He can't play out there. Similarly, Jordan Morris on the right has the athletic ability, but he's not a winger. His mindset is not that of a winger. He's an out-and-out striker. He runs straight at defenses. He lacks the ability to cut in off the wing and make sure he's in the right positions and things like that when he's playing out wide on the right. A 4-3-3 formation with those players does not work. Now, the personnel and formation problems aside, I think there's even a bigger problem here, and that is the fight of the team. The fire, the passion. It looks like it's been sucked out of the team. It looks like the soul has been sucked out of this team. You could see it in that game against Sporting Kansas City. They just didn't look like that they wanted to keep going. And it was very, very apparent to everyone watching. I mean, Twitter was blowing up with it. Taylor Twellman was tweeting about it. Alejandro Bedoya was tweeting about it. It just was an awful performance and an awful representation of the Sounders organization. And more than just getting the right players to fit in your formation, the team's attitude has to be right. They have to want to try to play. And at this point, and I hate to say this about professional athletes, questioning, honestly, their professionalism, but it doesn't look like they're trying anymore. It doesn't look like they want to try to fight. It looks like they know this season is over and they've had enough and they're just done with it. The whole situation it's blowing apart rapidly, and it's not going to get better, and it looks like the players know that. So where do the Sounders go from here? And that is the big question. Today, July 26th, at the time of recording this, I think about 30 minutes ago, it was announced that Schmid and the Sounders had mutually agreed to part ways. I don't know if I would have gotten rid of Schmid this season. There are some things that he's done. Again, the reluctance to switch out of the 4-3-3 really was pissing me off about 3 months ago when I said that they should have changed. They didn't, and it's only gotten worse. So I do lay that on him. It's his responsibility to get the most out of what he's given, and I don't think he has. I think this team could have been a lot better, and he hasn't gotten it done with that team. So I do think part of the onus is on him, but there are bigger problems. There are much bigger problems. The management hasn't brought in the right players. They got that quick fix for last season, which looked like it might actually work. In the end, they just fell short. And now they're left with a team that doesn't work at all. So I think there is some, responsibility have to be taken from the upper management, and they have to look at maybe replacing some people there. I don't know. There's a lot of things wrong. I think aside from the players on the field, I think a lot of things have to be looked at in management. I think some changes are needed there as well. I do not think, however, that will actually happen this season. Maybe in the offseason things might be shuffled around a little bit, but I think that Schmid leaving is going to be, the pinnacle of what happens for management this season, for changes anyway. So I think right now we have to kind of look at what the Sounders need on the field and kind of how to change it. I do have some thoughts on that. To start with, I think the biggest weakness on the team is a complete lack of athleticism. Aside from Jordan Morris, they have nobody with even average pace for the MLS, I would say. Only Jordan Morris has above average pace, and he's being misused out on the right wing. Especially if they're going to stick with a 4-3-3 where some athleticism is necessary, they have got to address that very quickly. That's why when Olex Anderson comes in and goes out on the wing, the team completely changes. The dynamic of the team changes. Suddenly, there's someone moving forward and creating problems and opening things up. They do not have that right now, especially with Jordan Morris being misused out on the right wing where he can't really utilize his athletic ability because he's second-guessing himself a lot. He needs to be played centrally, but that's a completely different problem. We'll get to that in a minute, but definitely if they're going to stick with a 4-3-3, they need some athleticism. Even if they go back to a 4-4-2, I'd like to see one or two players brought in that can actually move up the field with a bit of pace. The second problem I would have to say is the lack of creativity and technical ability in the team. They don't have anyone that can really take players one-on-one and open up passing lanes in that manner. Dempsey, he can kind of do that, but we'll talk about Dempsey in just a minute. It does look like the Sounders are looking to address that need, though, with the signing of Nicholas Ladero, which is very close to being completed. Talks have been going back and forth between the Sounders and his current team, Boca Juniors, for quite some time now, and it looks like that deal is very close to being completed. So the addition of the Uruguayan midfielder would definitely help in that aspect. He's 27 years old. It's a player that they can build around for the future. For sure, I would say he's kind of in the same mold of Diego Valeri from Portland. I know I don't like comparing Portland and Seattle. It makes me feel icky, but if you saw the last match between Portland and Seattle, you know how Valeri tore Seattle apart. He's definitely a player kind of like that and would definitely help this team. The third problem, in my opinion, is Clint Dempsey, and this may not be a popular opinion, but I don't know if Clint Dempsey fits in this team anymore. I really don't. It might be that Clint Dempsey has reached a point in his career where he needs things to go right for him in order for him to be effective. I don't know if he has the fight left in him to turn this thing around, grab this team, take control, and lead by example. I don't know if that's ever really been Clint Dempsey's MO. He's more of a laid-back player. And that's not what this team needs. They need somebody to spark this team. Now, especially if they stay with the 4-3-3 formation, that means you have one striker on the field. It has to either be Dempsey or it has to be Jordan Morris. In my opinion, it needs to be Jordan Morris. I think it's time for the Sounders, especially for the rest of this season, with it I would say just completely gone. There's no way back for them. I would say give those younger players a chance. There's some players in their second team in S2 that look pretty decent this season. Darwin Jones has been doing some good things recently for that team. There's some players in there that could potentially down the road help the team, and I think that at least for the rest of this season they should be given their chance, and that means moving away from Clint Dempsey. And I don't want to put the entire whole problem nightmare season on his shoulders, but he is the face of the team. He is the leader, if you will, of the team, and he just hasn't been there this year. I mean, he just looks like he's non-existent. Like, where has he been? They need him to be Clint Dempsey, and they're not getting that from him. So if he's not going to become that player and be Clint Dempsey the leader, there's no spot for him on this team, and honestly, they don't need him anymore. I think it might be time to move on from Clint Dempsey. So those three issues I just talked about would be probably the main points I hope that the Sounders would address immediately. Again, I don't know if Clint Dempsey really needs to be gone or not. It's going to come down to whether the Sounders think so or not. And with him being such a big name, I'm going to guess that he's going to be staying if he wants to stay. I don't even know if he wants to play for the Sounders anymore. Honestly, just by judging by his performance, I couldn't tell you one way or another if he actually wants to be in Seattle anymore. I have completely no idea what's going through Clint Dempsey's mind, but obviously there are some other problems that the Sounders need to address as well, such as some of the veterans on the team. I think they should move away from them as well. Nelson Valdez being a designated player, even though he doesn't see the field very often, they have to address that. I don't know if they want to keep Ivan Schitz. I mean, he's getting up there in age as well, or maybe they just want to go for a complete youth movement and get rid of most of their veterans. If they do that, okay, that means that the team's going to be set back for quite a few seasons, but maybe for the future, it would be better if they did that. I don't know. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the Sounders do for the rest of the season. It looks like, especially with Siggy Schmid gone, that they know that their season is over, so it's time to start this rebuild. I think getting Nicholas Lodeiro is a good start, but that's not all that needs to happen. This season, the rest of the season is going to be very, very important for the franchise with the moves that they make and who gets the playing time on the field as well. So that is it. That's all I got to talk about for the Sounders. Well, that's not entirely true. I could probably go on for about an hour to an hour and a half about all the problems that they have and how to address them, but I'm not going to get into all of that. I'll just leave it where it is. Tell me what you think about the Sounders situation, or if your team is having the same kind of problems and you hope that they would address them. I know some of you out there have told me at least the Sounders are looking to get like Nicholas Lodeiro. Your team isn't doing anything, and I feel for you. The Sounders haven't done anything in the transfer window at all this season other than getting rid of Obafemi Martins. Has not been a good situation for the Sounders. So I feel you if your team is in the same boat, but that is going to do it for this one. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you when we come back for another Major League 90. See ya.